listeners and audio bibliophiles. Welcome to Bible and Books.
Man is on his game today. I'm here for it.
I am Bad Gamer Elite, aka Lem, and this is Mr. City on the Hill, the one, the only, the guy that makes Daily Nerd Devos the thing that you listen to every day. What's up, Ryan?
What's good, man? What's good?
You guys,
I wish I created because we just did Villains Week.
Yes.
And I wish I had thought of the voice I used for Villains Week when we did Zombies, because I could have done a whole thing, and I didn't know I had a bad Dracula voice.
Oh, can we hear it?
Actually,
can we hear it?
I can't turn it on.
Okay. All right.
We'll do this at some point. We'll find a book that goes with it, and we'll make it happen.
Okay. I want to try my bad Dracula voice real quick here. Welcome to Bible and Books.
I'm glad I didn't do mine first. Lem's got me on that one. He's got me on that one. I'm in trouble.
All right. Now, if you're joining us live on Twitch, we just decided last minute we were going to do it. We were going to put it on Twitch. So if you're here, hello. And just like any time we are recording any of the podcasts, we're not ignoring you, but we're ignoring you. But if you have something
personal, we promise.
Yeah, if you have something relevant, maybe it shows up in the podcast.
That's right.
So, hey guys, first episode of Bible and Books. I'm excited, and as we've been doing with these podcasts, I am not in charge. I am not in charge, you guys. I might be here on the screen. I might be putting everything together. I might be doing intros, outros, but I'm not in charge. Ryan is in charge of Bible and Books, and he chose the book and the chapter.
I arguably think this is a more dangerous decision, but that's fine. I stand by it. We're good. We're fine. Okay, so I picked this book specifically because I used to read a lot when I was younger. I don't so much do with the reading now, but this is a book I've always loved.
Okay.
I've just and I look at it differently now, especially because I'm looking at it for this purpose. And it's a lot heavier a book than I remembered, but that's okay.
Right.
It's a good time. So I'm just gonna. So this is Ender's Game, by Orson Scott Card. It is a science fiction novel set in a, we'll call it dystopian, but like,
it's a future.
Non-ideal future.
It's a future. It happens.
It's a future. It has seen lots of combat between the Earth and their aliens. And before we go any further, I did want to put a disclaimer here. The author, Orson Scott Card, is a man of many public opinions. And those opinions do not necessarily reflect those of God Games and Geekery, or Bible and Books, or live promotions, excuse me.
Right.
He and even if they aren't opinions we necessarily disagree with, his way of approaching those opinions is also not one that I think has necessarily reflected our values in the past. He may have changed by now. I hope he has. But just I love his writing. I do not love all of his opinions. But that's sort of the world we live in.
Yeah, and that's the thing. When we look at God Games and Geekery, which is the basis for all of these little mini podcasts that we're doing, it's not necessarily. We're looking at how God can speak to us through these pieces, through these bits of geekery. So, if the author has an opinion on something, I'm willing to entertain what that is, I guess, and to listen to what that is. I don't know all the opinions of all the authors I like. There are certain books that I love the books, and the authors are horrible people.
A lot of folks love Harry Potter. I'm not a Harry Potter person, but a lot of folks love Harry Potter.
Yes.
Harry Potter lady. Some strong, hard to agree with opinions at sometimes.
I am 1,000% a Potterhead.
Yeah.
And we're not going to talk
she's made
about
some
it.
public stances.
We are not going to talk about her.
Yeah. Nah. But no, I like this book. I I unfortunately picked, I think what Lim has told me is the longest chapter in the book.
The longest chapter.
That was unintentional. I blame the Sparks Notes. Everything's consolidated when you're looking at Sparks Notes. Kids, don't use Sparks Notes. Actually, do your reading. Your teachers won't be happy about it.
Can we talk about that for just a second?
Hit me.
Because ADHD boy, right? I did do the Kindle Unlimited.
Yeah.
I have Kindle Unlimited. I use it for drawing books because there's pictures and I can do that as I go along. I have on my tablet. Great. They have lots of great tutorial books for drawing. For reading, quote unquote, reading books, I am an Audible guy.
Yeah.
All right. Chapter 1 of Ender's Game is 13 minutes. Chapter 2, 12 minutes. Chapter 3, 19 minutes. Chapter 5, whoa, hold on, 30 minutes. What chapter did we do?
14, the next to last chapter of the book.
Ender's Teacher, chapter 14.
Mm-hmm.
1 hour and 48 minutes.
It is a beefy lad. It is a beefy lad. He's not wrong.
I did. Needless to say, I didn't get through all.
There is a lot. There is the thing that the book entirely leads up to happens in this chapter, and I want to say for the listeners, if you've never read Ender's Game, A, great book. B, hard book at times. There's definitely some hard content in there. But we're probably going to spoil the crap out of some parts of this, so just be fair warned. Because does he pull a swerve there at the end?
Also, if you saw the movie, which it was my introduction to Ender's Game, all the movie takes place in chapter 14, I think.
Pretty much, yes. I have seen some clips from the movie. I was afraid to watch it because A, I love the book, and B, I love Harrison Ford, and I didn't want to not like Harrison Ford anymore because he plays one of the harder characters in the book. It looks like they really leaned into chapter 14 there. Really, I mean, look, like you said, it's an hour and 15 minutes of reading time, which means it's at least an hour of screen time.
What?
If you do the whole thing there,
bro. Like, anyway, let's go.
Yeah, it's a thing. But so Ender's Game is the story of a. I think when the book starts, he's like 5 or 6, real young child, and in that version of Earth, families are only allowed to have 2 kids unless they have special permission from the government. That's a whole thing later on, but don't worry about that part right now. That's not important. And the story just kind of follows Ender along at home with his family and into the early parts of his education before the training school, and then at the training school, and then at a whole space combat school in space on like an asteroid or something, which sounded real cool in my head. But he's just doing his thing, and it just kind of follows his journey and through all the trials and the pressure he ends up under, as in the long run, Ender ends up being sort of the de facto person chosen to save the world. And I think he's crazy. 11 by the time we get there. Which is not how you should go about saving the planet using small children. Not recommended.
There are some labor laws, bro.
Oh, brother. I think they probably had abolished all those by then because, sweet heavens, it's just OSHA violations. It's just OSHA violations and things that are going to upset child services.
Yes.
It's, woof. It's bad. No, and I think
CPS on guard.
Like, seriously, man, like we out here calling child protective services left and right, like every 4th sentence.
Yes.
Someone's going to have to get taken, and it's a problem. It's dangerous. And I will say, and this is something that comes up in science fiction from time to time, or even in our world from time to time, kids are smarter than us. Kids think more freely than we do. They don't have the same limitations and blocks in their minds on what's possible that we even have as younger adults. And that's sort of the big premise here, is that kids can figure this out better than the adults can, because what the adults tried in the 2 times the aliens invaded didn't work super well. It failed entirely once, and the second time it sort of worked, but only by accident, more or less.
Yeah.
And so the theory is you train the kids, and the kids will figure it out. So what I wanted to talk about with this, from a faith-based perspective, is breakpoints. And I feel like my pastor, the man, the myth, the legend, Tony Talavera. I believe
love Tony.
We do love Tony in this household. I don't remember if it was Tony or someone else at our church did a message on this not that long ago without the Ender's Game part, but with breakpoints. It's those things that push us past our limits, and in my mind, it's A, what we can do about it, B, what we can do to help other people when they're in those positions, and just kind of seeing those signs in our lives so that we know when we're at a dangerous spot. Because this entire book, to some level, is Ender facing breaking moments and seeing how he responds. And it's often not well. And it's one of those things where breakpoints, you have to understand, don't just affect you mentally. They affect you spiritually. They affect you physically. In a lot of cases, the more pressure and those moments that you face, your body begins to fight back at you to not deal with those situations. And we see it throughout the book. He physically has to fight at times. Fighting children, always a good choice.
And we're not
children
talking
fighting children.
We're not talking like brother and sister.
No.
Either.
We're talking physical assault.
Adult
gang style beatdowns.
Adults.
Yes, physical. Yeah, just full jujitsu lessons with 70-year-olds. Because space and time is relative. It's fine. He's not that old. It's a whole mess. But I think that's something. There's a line from one of his teachers in the chapter. It says, "Survival first, then happiness as we can manage it." And look, sometimes that's life. Sometimes life is about making it through to the next thing, but you can't always live like that, because only ever living to survive. And I don't mean that from like a needs standpoint. Obviously, we lived as, the eat and the drink and the whole nine, but you've got to have things that allow you to have a separation from the things that you're struggling with, the things you're fighting. And if you don't have those separations, then you hit breakpoints and you collapse, and you got to find your way around that. And some of that to me is support systems. And that's something that's interesting in this book, because Ender makes a lot of friends and he has people who care about him, but they normally don't step in to protect him and help him because they think it'll be disadvantageous to their ultimate goal. And I say this all with a grain of salt, because we're not normally going to be under the pressure of trying to save the world. Right. Like literally trying to save the world. That's not our normal ask. This is an extraordinary circumstance, one would suppose.
Unless we're playing Fortnite, then we are definitely trying to save the world.
Yeah. Definitely trying to save the world there, yes. Or watching Heroes, because I think it's what
save the cheerleader,
save the world.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how that worked. I never watched Heroes, but yeah, I believe that was the shtick. But that's not normal. And you watch Ender as he goes, and okay. So then there's one. So one of Ender's great strengths is training other people. So his other classmates at the battle school, at the command school, his fellow students, he's really good at organizing people and training them. And at some points, he starts to put more pressure on himself to take pressure off of them.
Right.
But that's with the pressure he already has on himself. So instead of doing things to relieve the pressure he's dealing with, he is instead taking other people's pressure on top of his own pressure. And ultimately, he does literally physically break down and collapse. They have to take him out for several days, and he just sleeps the whole time. And he gets to these points where he's no longer capable of really leading and commanding. And you get to the ultimate final test that he has at the battle school, and he's basically wiped physically, mentally, he's just not there. And he looks at the situation that they present him with, deems it essentially impossible, and so he just does nonsensical things that shouldn't work. And I won't spoil what actually happens, but in the end, he breaks down. He basically ends up in a, like, I wouldn't call it in a coma, but pretty close to a coma for like multiple days, because the pressure is too much. The result is too much. And he has nothing in his life that he has as an outlet, as a place to relieve that tension, as he doesn't have what we have. He doesn't have faith to fall back on in the hard moments.
Yeah. I don't know what that's so like, pushing yourself to the brink of whatever it is at all. Not at all.
No, never. We don't do that here. No, and that's why, and I think, and in some cases, the world pushes us to always be moving forward, and always be grinding and pushing, and at some point you fall apart. And at some point, or just whatever's going on in your world. I know my mom is because my mom's retired, but she still works part-time. And my dad is in rehab right now after going into cardiac arrest. So she's got a lot. And I don't want that to be the thing she deals with. I don't want it to be too much, because you get to that point where it becomes too much and you need people in your life. Or, as I'm often fond of saying, if you're not the kind of person who right now needs people, that means you get to be the kind of person who is there for someone.
Yes.
And that is,
we have that in our community here, just like, even just for streams, like Alex, I Am Balmer, who does the message and music with us. He'll consistently put in chat, and when we're just hanging out, how much water have you drank? Where's your water? Where's your snack?
You got to do it. You got to do, and a lot of the things that move you past your breaking points are little things like that. Just making sure you're getting up and moving around, making sure you're taking breaks, making sure you're drinking water. Water, very important. Your body is like literally almost 3/4 water. You have to keep replenishing that. And as much as I love Mountain Dew Code Red, it is not water.
Oh, did I just get called out?
It is a percentage water, but it's not a particularly high percentage water. It is a particularly high percentage food coloring and sugar. And neither of those are things your body needs in large quantities. So I do
drink the zero sugar. I'm sorry, Ed Placencia, if you're listening, I do drink the zero sugar.
I tried that for a hot minute. Code Red zero sugar is not good.
I drink the other stuff. There's a Baja Blast and there's a Major Melon that I drink.
Okay. I love Baja Blast. Seasonal or Taco Bell only. I can't believe this many years on from Baja Blast, because Baja Blast has got to be almost 20 years old at this point.
Least.
I can't believe this many years on, it's still not actually available in stores year round. You can get it in the summer.
Oh yeah,
in stores, but the rest of the time, Taco Bell only, baby.
I have those blue cases that the Pepsi people bring to stock stores.
Oh, okay.
I've got 2 of those, and a good chunk of it is Baja Blast.
I respect that. Baja Blast is both over and underrated. But I like it.
We partner with Pepsi for Life Fest here.
Oh, hey, I respect that game.
Yeah.
As much as I live in a town where literally Coke is produced.
Yeah.
I live in a town where it's bottled, but that's beside the point. Also, where we make M&Ms and Twix.
I expect a care package.
And you can eat off the line in the factory. What? Because they know if they let you, after like 2 weeks, you're just gonna stop.
Yeah, absolutely.
Instead of outlawing it and then just having to deal with the consequences every time someone does it, sure, you can do that because you're not going to long term. And they're right. I would pop a Twix 6 times a day for like 4 days, and I'd just be done.
Yep.
I can't even imagine, actually. And the smell, I imagine, inside the factory is not as ideal as I would hope a chocolate factory would be.
Right. We are not Willy Wonkaing it.
It's not full Wonka. No, we don't. You don't get to go full Wonka. That is a dream that is not going to happen. Back to breakpoints.
We literally just said this. When we get together, we go off the rails. We squirrel.
It's so far off. And we talked about M&M Mars because you brought up drinking enough water. That's how we ended up there, Lynn. That wasn't even that many jumps, and we still ended up there. It's amazing. So ultimately what I'm saying, and I know we haven't actually talked a ton about the book. I'm trying hard not to actually spoil the ending because I'll give credit where credit's due. The ending is a heck of a swerve that I did not see coming. Granted, the first time I read this I was probably like 13, but and maybe some folks will anticipate what happens. And obviously, if you've seen the movie or you've read the book, you know.
Yeah. In the book, is it a heartfelt meeting?
Yeah. There are some heartfelt. Okay, wait. So ask your question again.
Is it the end of the book? Does it include a heartfelt meeting?
Sure. And that's actually not even the swerve I'm talking about. That's a second swerve after the first swerve. Like it's WCW in 1999. Just swerving left and right, maybe just Vince Russo booking. We don't Vince Russo book in this household. No, that's yeah. That does happen. There are some hard cuts, and I think it's interesting that spoilers. Ender, in some sense, does save the day.
Right.
But even in that moment, saving the day breaks him more than having not done so would.
Yeah.
It makes it worse.
Yeah.
And because he ultimately realizes what saving the day cost. And he very purposefully takes that weight on himself and will not put it down.
Yeah.
And there are several more books in the series that continue on, and I've not read them or read all of them. Right. I think I've read part of one of them, but that keeps going in some cases, at least for a while, where he takes all of the pain and frustration, and instead of laying it down and trying to move on, he carries it with him. Almost like literally, he makes it almost his responsibility in life to carry that burden forward. Because instead of when he breaks, it causes a lot of damage.
Yeah.
And it causes a lot of damage emotionally, but it causes a lot of actual damage in the universe when Ender breaks, and he wants to see that fixed. And I think that's good in some ways, because sometimes when we break, we do hurt others, and that is something we have to be careful about. But I'd like to see us get to the point where where the only answer isn't to break.
Right.
Where we find those outlets, and you and I have them. Video games, you have to be careful with your time.
Yes.
And I am not. But they can be an outlet. They can also be a further stressor, depending on how you approach them.
And which games you play and who you play with.
It's one of the reasons I stopped playing Counter-Strike.
I will not be playing League of Legends, everyone. I will not be playing League of Legends.
I will only be playing League of Legends Wild Rift, which is the mobile version, and I'm much better at. Or Teamfight Tactics, which is their auto chess game. No, I will not be playing much League of Legends. I'm awful at it. And I won't play Counter-Strike anymore because being cursed out by 9-year-olds does not help my stress levels. That pushes me to breaking points. That does not help me. Being called bad names by other men in their 30s does not help me. So you do have to make those decisions, and sometimes those things have to go.
Yeah.
You have to let it go. Even if you love it, you may have to let it go if it ultimately is only making things worse for you. And that's a whole other discussion about addiction and other stuff. That's not where I was going with that. That also applies in that realm as well. But you have to find those things, and Ender is both a good and bad example to me, because striving and trying to accomplish something and making a difference is good, especially for us as Christians. We want to make a difference in the world.
Right.
We want to help bring change. That's great. But pushing yourself and allowing yourself to be pushed and allowing those around you to be pushed to the point of breaking is not good. Sometimes you need to break things. You need to break from habits or sin or whatever. But just getting to the point of literal emotional or physical or spiritual breakdown where your body collapses or your mind falls apart or you walk away from God isn't what we're looking for. You've got to see those signs and talk to people. And if you don't feel, go.
No, when you're saying all that, I'm just thinking we're in November now, and in the States we've got Thanksgiving coming up.
Yes, sir.
This is just reminding me that maybe you, listener or viewer, maybe this is the year that you don't hit up that family Thanksgiving because you need to take some time to give thanks to God with just you.
That family Thanksgiving may not be the place where you're going to go into it or come out of it with a good attitude and a good mindset.
Yeah.
The holidays aren't good for everyone.
No.
They put some folks they put in bad places.
Yeah. Honestly, I love Thanksgiving. I don't get to see my parents or my brother, my side of my family very often at all. I won't be seeing them this year, as far as I know.
Okay.
But my wife's family, while my brother-in-law and I, we don't agree on a lot of stuff. We are the same age. We're the same generation. We don't agree on a lot of stuff. What we do agree on is, dang, I want the family together for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
In that way, I need to be at Thanksgiving because I am, and my family is the only way he is seeing Christ through anybody. He has his opinion on Christians and our faith, and he's got a lot of opinions on that.
Sure,
but he also realizes, hey, me and this other Christian can have a discussion on why Jackie Chan is better than Chuck Norris or why Chuck Norris is better than Jackie Chan. Not getting into it today. We're talking about Ender's Game. I'm not even going to let you know where I am.
Don't make me dredge up 20 years of Chuck Norris references. I'll do it. I was around in the early days, Lim. I remember the days. He doesn't sleep, he waits. Those were awful years. No, but you're absolutely right. And I have known people in my own life that I thought would never find God. I was convinced they were that person who just wasn't ever going to see it happen because of how they felt about certain things. And that's their right. That's how, the free will God gives us works. But not that long ago, I learned one of them became a Christian. And so I'm trying my best to never discount that possibility. And like you said, if you're the place where that, he's going to see what is possible with God from a more positive outlook, then that's great. And that's the step you need to take to, to support him like that. And that's you doing the thing that Ender didn't get. He didn't get those people who were willing to take those steps because they thought it was more important to not do it. And sometimes that's a hard decision for us to make, is knowing when we step in.
Yeah.
I struggled, but I found verses for this. I actually didn't struggle that much. It wasn't that difficult. When you talk about being supportive of other people.
Yes.
In Galatians, it says we carry each other's burdens, and in this way we fulfill the law of Christ. God actively does not expect us to do this on our own. He would actively prefer we didn't do this on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what this whole book is Ender, whether he wants to or not. And let me tell you, it varies pretty hard whether he wants to or not. He is going to carry his and everyone else's burden. And while there are people there with him, he is the one carrying the weight. There's no true support. There is no, and I get it. The book doesn't work if he's coddled the whole time. He doesn't become the success they hope him to become if that is what happens. And that's why I said, this doesn't strictly apply in the same way. But you have to find those moments, and you have to be willing to be that person for other people.
Yeah.
And you have to be willing to let people be that for you. And sometimes that's hard. Sometimes we want to just fight on our own. And I can tell you from personal experience, trying to change the thing that God wants you to change without him or others ain't gonna happen. Because I did it for a long time and it didn't happen. You can't let that be your approach. You need other people to support you in those moments. I found like Jonathan and David.
Yeah.
Jonathan is there for David no matter what.
Yes.
And even at the expense of his own family and at the expense of potentially his own safety, Jonathan is there for David. And I wish he'd been there for him longer, but he was there for David no matter what in that period of time. And he is that support system that David needed, because David is asked to do the same thing as Ender. He is asked to defeat the great invading enemy that no one else can. And in the long run, he does. He defeats. He fails Goliath, and they defeat the Philistines, and he goes on to make some real good and real awful decisions in his life. But those are beside the point currently. But Jonathan is right there alongside him, making sure he's not doing it by himself, making sure he doesn't break. God puts Jonathan right there for that reason, and he has put people in your life if you are willing to look for them and accept them. Or he has put people in your life if you are willing to look for the ones you should be supporting, where you get to do that too. And that's the thing. That's what I want the people who are hearing this and you and me to be more willing to take advantage of. A, to be that person for someone else, and B, to be willing to let people help you. Because that's hard for some folks. Some folks aren't built that way, and that's okay. But it's not worth the breaking.
I'm gonna need you to stay out of my windows and stop tapping my phone, because I am that guy that is like, hey, let me help you. Let me help you. Now, okay, great. Let me help you now, Lem. Nah, I'm good. I'm good.
I'm all right. I'm all right. We got it. We're good. We're good. What can I do to help you? It can't always be that direction.
Yeah.
You can't always carry the weight.
Yeah.
It doesn't work. Especially if you're going to carry yours and someone else's.
Yeah. I get...
Your boy has like zero upper body strength. You won't drop at some point. And I try and carry the 17 grocery bags by myself. Got 2 gallons of milk on a pinky.
2 gallons of milk on a pinky.
Because I'm a man.
I'm gonna need you to stay out of my driveway and watching me carry stuff in.
Because I'm a man. I don't need your help. I got it. No, stop that. Look, you can, and this is not the place to have a discussion on biblical manhood. It's not the time for that talk right now. But it's not just about that. It's about being willing. It's about being willing to not break, because we don't want to break. We don't want to get to that point. But there are steps you can take to try and make sure it doesn't actually happen. And the one thing I haven't talked about yet, and I'm sorry about this because this is a Christian podcast, it's not just that God will put people in your life, it's that you have to go to God about it.
Yes.
Look, God, I'm not good right now. I'm struggling right now. I need more of you. I need you, because the Bible talks about how God will carry that weight for you. You trade burdens, and life after you become a Christian isn't easy, but the burden God gives you is lighter than the one you have on your own. You let him carry the hard stuff, and you let him you go to him. You make it a part of your life to try and make that change, to try and involve him and involve others, because he wants you to not try and do it on your own.
Somebody clip that. Somebody clip that. Yo.
Don't, man, gonna make me a meme. Dangerous.
Clip it. Oh, wow.
I wrote.
Oh, go ahead.
It is. So talking about the book as a whole, it is heartbreaking, but that should teach us to embrace God, and those God has given us, which is the thing Ender doesn't get to do. We get to. And we get to as people because they're support. And look, if you need to talk to somebody, I don't care if you talk to the ball coach, you talk to me, you talk to Lim, you talk to Jesus. I don't care if you go see a psychiatrist. That's fine. People talk about how you can't do things like that because that's not letting God handle the problem. I don't believe that God doesn't handle things that way. If you need to see a doctor, see a doctor. That may be someone God put in your life for a purpose. Sometimes you got to accept help where help is available, and help is available if you're willing to take that first step, wherever it comes from. Mm-hmm. And I think that's half the battle, is accepting that sometimes where it comes from isn't going to be the place you want it to come from.
Yeah.
And then you go from there.
You say that like with sometimes it's not where you expect it to come from, like
right.
the lesson. And there was a point. I admittedly I didn't get to a lot of the stuff that we're talking about today in the story beats, but the one part I did get to was where Ender gets a new teacher.
Yeah,
and it was the very beginning, and we alluded to this at the beginning. It's an older guy who was the hero of one of the battles.
Yes.
And he teaches Ender that the best teacher he could ever have is his enemy.
Yes.
And we learn through those tough times and those trials. And not only do we learn how to get through them, we learn who we can rely on to get through them. And when you said we need to go to God on that, God knows who our enemy is. He knows what our problems are. He knows who and what are going to be the struggles for us, and he can teach us through those.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I dig it.
And that certainly was not Mazer Rackham's point in that moment.
No, not at all.
But like you said, that's what we take from these things. What lesson can we take from it, whether it's the intended lesson or not?
Right.
You can draw 1,000 lessons from Star Wars. I don't think George intended most of them. Not saying he didn't. As long as God did, great. That's what matters. But, you look for those moments and you find them where you find them. And like you said, sometimes you find them in the enemy.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's where you learn. You learn by losing. Mm. You learn by breaking so you don't break the same way again.
That's the whole premise of roguelike, right?
I guess, yeah. See, I haven't played as many roguelike games as I should. It's basically just like Torchlight 1 and 2.
Yeah.
Is kind of the cap for me. But you do learn what fights you can win and what fights you can't. And what fights you need to approach differently. Where you need to change weapons, which armor you should be wearing instead. Mm. You learn from the times where it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Gotta preach, actually.
All right.
Actually,
if you had to leave us with one thing that you can take away, we can put in a sentence, put on a t-shirt, meme it, what's the one thing?
Be willing to ask for help. Mm. Because most of the time we aren't. Most of the time we don't think we need help. And I made the joke about the carrying the groceries because that's the easy analogy.
Yeah.
But and I'll say this for anything I ever say with Lim and anything I ever say on the Daily Nerd Devo, I make it sound much easier than it actually is. Mm. Being willing to actually take that first step is not as simple and soundbitey as I make it out to be. And I get that. Trust me.
Yeah.
20 years of bad decisions. I get it. I do. But the one thing my mom always told me is you have to be willing to take the step.
Yes.
You have to be willing to do it. And in this case, I think that's you have to be willing to ask for help. At some point, that will be less painful than the actual break will be. Because for some people, asking for help is hard. Mm-hmm. And I get that. I do. But at some point, breaking is worse.
Absolutely.
And you will come around to that point, hopefully not the hard way. Sometimes the hard way. Sometimes you learn from the enemy. Sometimes you learn from the defeat, like you said. That was not at all, that doesn't fit on a t-shirt. That is your boy Rambler.
Okay. Yeah, that's all right. No. I think we'll have a section at the end of the podcast just called Spark Notes.
Yo, actually, that might be copywritten, but we'll figure something out. Yes.
All right.
Here for it.
All right. So like maybe not Spark Notes.
We'll come up with a new name.
Yeah. Cool.
Love it.
Hey, so Ryan, dude, This is awesome. This is fantastic. I want to say every month, maybe it's every other month, but
somewhere in there.
You guys, we have all these little podcasts, the series that we're doing, as well as the general G3 check-in episodes. We may or may not have one in November. I am on the road this weekend, and then we have Quake coming up, and I've got an event next week, and then on my own channel we're going to do Extra Life. So November might be rough.
Oh yeah,
love that.
Support Extra Life, good people.
Yeah, absolutely. So thanks everybody for being here. Again, I'm Bad Gamer Elite. That there is Ryan, City on a Hill Gaming, as well as Daily Nerd Devo from Nerd of Godcast.
That's right.
Oh my goodness.
Shout out to the Nerd of Godcast, folks.
Love you. Tony T!
That's right. Fam.
All right. Oh my gosh. And I'm going to read one from our chat because I love this. I am Balmer.
Shout out to chat.
Yeah, shout out to chat. Thanks for being here, you guys. I am Balmer. Ryan, I truly love all you do, and I'm glad that you've agreed to appear more often on G3.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the opportunity for Lim to let me ramble. Here to make it happen, baby.
All right. Hey, remember, Jesus loves you. So do I. So does this guy.
That's right.
And always, always leave people better than you found them.
Amen.
Peace.